All right, guys, I'm going to do it. I know this is going to be controversial. I know a lot of people will not agree, but this is mostly to spur some conversation and just hear your opinions. I made my own patch notes with changes I think would be good for the game, and I tried to justify my mindset. And remember, this is all in good fun. I just love thinking of changes and balancing while I play a game, so please don't take it too seriously. We discussed these on my stream at length. I got input from multiple viewers, and overall, I think it would be a good change for the game. Some of them might sound more outrageous than they really are, but I encourage you to go test and look at the numbers yourself. Some things are just way off. To put it in simple terms, I think there's too much damage in the game. Time to KO is low for a handful of heroes, and it doesn't really feel like they need to work hard to get that KO. Seasonal buffs make this entire balance thing a mess, and honestly, I'd remove seasonal buffs if possible. I think they don't add any flavor to the game. It's just random buffs on random people for random amounts of time. I do think that if we lower the damage of the game too much, then of course you need to lower the healing output as well, right? Or people are just going to become immortal. But some of that's addressed in this patch as well. But anyway, it's something that this is more of just a starting thing. It's just bringing the damage down a little bit on some of these characters that are just way too good compared to their counterparts. I was going to draw up a bunch of comparisons between heroes for the purpose of this video, but I hope people can do their own research a bit. If you lay down two long-range sniper-style duelists side by side, like Hela and Black Widow, the comparison is scary. You practically have no reason to play Black Widow besides I like Black Widow as a character. From a competitive or balance standpoint, there is no true reason to choose her. And maybe that's fine. Maybe balance won't matter too much in this game and it will just be a fun, team-based brawler. I'm okay with that. I'm not a hugely competitive, oh my god, I need to be rank 1 type of guy. I just hope the developers carve out an identity for the game when it comes to balance so we know where we are headed in the long term. Anyway, so we're going to pull up the patch notes I made and I'll start talking through them and show some example clips as we go. All right, so here we go. So it's called Sylvis's Perfect Patch Notes because I wouldn't make a mistake. Of course they're perfect. All jokes aside, obviously a lot of this shit is just subjective. But anyway, I just want to put a note. Seasonal buffs got to go bye-bye. Makes actual balancing so tough and bizarre. It's honestly what I think. I don't quite understand what character, he does plus 20% damage just because it's his season. And then next season he just does less damage. And it just doesn't work for me. I think it's confusing, and I think it just makes things a headache, and I don't think anyone really cares about what the seasonal buff is. Just make the characters more balanced in general, right? It's just imagine your favorite character, and it's like, oh, it's not a seasonal buff for your favorite character, so he's dog shit for the next 3 months. It's just doesn't make sense. Anyway, so the overall goal of these changes is to bring the top tier back into the middle of the pack in some ways. Basically damage in a lot of cases, but sometimes cooldown, stuff like that. People say buff, don't nerf, but honestly, I don't understand that philosophy either. You'd need to buff like 25 people instead of just nerfing like 7. Yeah, like unless you're going to buff everyone's health and the damage of some characters, they just 2-tap them. So like they just do too much damage. So you have to buff everyone's health then. And I don't get it. Do you feel good because you hit for a certain number? Like it just doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, starting off, Black Widow, honestly, she needs more than this, but this is just to buff her absolutely terrible E ability. Right now, it's a 3-meter distance they have to be, practically standing on top of them. I'll show a video clip here, but we need to buff it to at least 5 meters. She needs way more. You miss it too often on someone who's like practically right in front of you. And if you miss it, you're fucked. So it needs help. Also, it has a ridiculous 15-second cooldown. To put it in perspective, Hela's invulnerable mobility dash skill is on a 12-second cooldown. But Black Widow's terrible 3-meter kick is on a 15-second cooldown. We can't really buff her damage because if you do, then she's one-shotting people, and we don't want one-shots. So, I mean, when you compare her to Hela, Hawkeye, anything like that, I can't find any reason to play Black Widow. This is going to help a little bit just because it's a buff to her E, but overall, I think the character just needs a little bit more help. Her ult is interesting in some ways, but when you compare it again to like Hela's ult, 1,000 HP zoning ult, it's not even close. All right, moving on to Doctor Strange. kind of a big one. We've got multiple things here that I would just kick down a notch. Doctor Strange is dominant in the meta. He gets you value in so many different ways. AoE stuns, AoE insta burst kill damage, strong damage reduction. His basic attack is extremely good. It's not even mentioning the portal that he has. So a couple things we're going to do here. So Shield of the Seraphim, the recovery rate, going to take it down from 80 per second to 70 per second. Remember, slight nerfs that we're doing here. I'm not cutting the thing in half. We're taking it down just a notch. Okay? The biggest change here would be that Shield of Seraphim now has a 1 second cooldown before using it again after canceling it. A lot of people aren't going to like this. A lot of strange mains aren't going to like this. But it's ridiculous how he can just seamlessly he can weave his basic attacks in between shielding. Like he never even puts a shield down pretty much. And it's just too strong. It's basically he has an 800 point shield in front of himself at all times, and he can still damage you just like he always normally could. So we're going to add a slight cooldown. It gives a slight window of opportunity to maybe hit this guy. Another decent little change here is lowering the stun on his ultimate, Eye of Agamotto, from 3 seconds to 2.5 seconds. It's still a 2.5 second AoE stun that enables your entire team to do double damage to everyone that gets hit. I'd say that's still pretty damn strong. It's easy to land. Yes, people can see it coming. Yes, high-level people are going to know it's coming. They're going to deal with it much easier. But we have to think of the average players. Silver, gold, platinum, diamond, in that mix right there. We're not talking about 6-man pre-made top-of-the-line teams. If they land a 2.5 second stun, it is still excellent for them. They can still do a lot of things with that. So taking it from 3 seconds to 2.5 seconds just makes it easier for the average Joe to maybe survive it. And the last piece of the puzzle, his E ability, Maelstrom of Madness, taking it down a slight little bit. From 130 damage, if he has 100 energy, to 120 damage. 10 measly damage. But that's enough to change the math sometimes so people can survive his instant one-shot. I just auto-attack you, slap you once in the face, and instantly hit E and basically kill a 250 health character. It just changes the goalposts, moves the goalposts a little bit, makes him still an S-tier character, but not absolutely completely broken. Hopefully this helps. All right, moving on to Hawkeye. Everyone's favorite bow-using asshole. He does too much damage. Whether he hits you in the body, if he hits you in the head, he just does too much damage. He's very safe. His ultimate is quite good, but just if he could just basic attack you, and like that is all the character could do, I'm pretty sure he would still be used. He's that good. So I am literally just lowering the damage for now. And even by lowering the damage from 8 to 70 to 8 to 80 with the basic attack and then lowering his charging up ability from 0 to 80 to 0 to 60, he can still one-shot anyone that he could one-shot currently. Okay? So if the game designers want him to be able to one-shot stuff, he can still do that. The point of these changes are to reduce the pressure that he puts on tanks. And if somehow people have a little bit of overshield and he doesn't hit them in the head, he maybe will not kill them instantly. Right now, I don't know if you guys know, but you can basically just fully charge body shot and then instantly shoot again and you will kill somebody. Or you can just fully charge body shot, hit your melee button, and immediately hit shift to animation cancel, and you will instantly kill like any duelist or whatever that's diving you. So you don't need a headshot. You don't have to be like some super accurate sniper. Just shoot them in the chest, hit your melee button, and hit shift, and they're dead. And just like tanks and stuff, it's just too good. It's too unexpected. He can two-shot a Thor, for example. He can almost two-shot a Venom. One really good trick, if it just, you know how Venoms are trying to get their health low and then they're going to hit their shield button. Well, you hit them so they're like at 40% life, and then charge up fully and just like shoot them in the body and hit shift, and like you'll kill a lot of Venoms before they ever hit their E. because it's just there goes half their life instantly, you know? He's just too good. So Hawkeye, we're taking it down a notch again. His actual design is still there, but I mean, I would get rid of his one-shot capability. I don't think it has any place in these games. I think it's silly, especially the fact that he doesn't have to be aiming at you to one-shot you. He can charge up the arrow by staring at a tank and then just flick to the side of the tank and shoot someone standing behind them and one-tap them. So, yeah, not my thing. Anyway, bringing it down a notch, nothing major, but it'll do something. Okay, moving on to everyone's favorite, Hela. Dominant from the start of the game, like from the alpha, the beta. Just insane damage, hit scan. She has extremely good safety with the fact that she has her invulnerable shift mobility skill. Her ultimate, which makes her, invulnerable compared to where she was, 1,000 HP. AoE damage with a massive radius, zoning out people from the objective, killing people from around corners. She has a ranged stun. She has a burst AoE damage skill as well. Just probably the best overall character in the game. Obviously she needs to be nerfed. So we've got a few things going on here. I'm nerfing the base damage from 70 to 60. If she crits now twice at 60 damage, because it does 120 damage a crit, she'll hit you for 120, 120, so you'll be taking 240. So she cannot 2-tap you now. Hela attacks 2 times per second. So currently, if she shoots you once in the head and once in the body with the damage bonus from the season, she can kill you. And it's in 1 second, literally 1 second. She doesn't need 2 headshots, just 1 in the head, 1 in the body, and you are dead. Body shots itself, 3 in the body just kills you. It's too good. I've changed the damage fall off, so it begins at 14 meters instead of 18 meters. So she basically can't do as much damage from as far. It starts to fall off a little bit quicker. Again, nothing major, but it's something. Increase the cooldown of her mobility, invulnerable mobility skill from 12 seconds to 14 seconds. Honestly, considering how Black Widow's is 15, Hawkeye's is 15, it probably should be even longer than that, but it just feels bad. I don't like raising things too much. I think we just need to take it slow and change things a little bit here and there and go from there. And lastly, her ultimate, reduce the duration. Instead of 10 seconds of her being up in the sky, raining down hell, we've changed it to 8 seconds. I think 8 seconds is enough, given the power of the ultimate and its usability and functionality of zoning people out, etc. So that's it for Hela. That's what I would try. I wouldn't be surprised if she needs a lot more than this, but yeah, that's where we're starting anyway. Now, moving on to Iron Fist. This is a weird one. I haven't played much Iron Fist myself, and actually I haven't really seen him much since the last few days, but I feel like he's a character that the higher rank you go, the easier it is for people to know how to deal with him early on when people are not aware of, their surroundings as well and stuff like that. He's on top of you, he's beating the shit out of you, and they can't shake him. And I think his damage is fine and stuff like that, but it's just the fact that you cannot shake this guy for some characters. Like, if Iron Man is boosting away, you'd think he should be able to get away from this guy, but he cannot. So if we change the pull-in distance from 6 meters to 4 meters, it's harder for him to stick to you. And for now, I mean, that's all I would change, and we just would have to kind of see how that plays out and where the character ends up. He's a noob stomper more than anything. So, yeah, not massive changes that are required for Iron Fist at the moment, I would say. Okay, these next two are probably going to stir up some bullshit, but Luna Snow and Mantis's ultimate abilities. Fate of Both Worlds and Soul Resurgence. I think they are boring in their design, and they are not much fun, and they just counteract so many other ultimates and pushes, and they just solve problems, and you can basically just stand there when you use them, and it's, I don't know. They're up too much. They are, if you have Luna and Mantis, one fight you can use Luna's ult, next fight you can use Mantis ult. By the time you have the third fight, Luna's ult is back up again. So they're using them too frequently, they're lasting too long, and they're just too good. So I'm basically nerfing their duration. Luna's from 12 seconds to 9. Mantis's from 8 seconds to 7. Mantis can still use other abilities while she's using the ult. So that's why its duration is lower. Luna can just like spam her Q button and switch between the damage boost and the healing, and it heals for so much so quickly that you can keep your whole team healed and shielded and make them do bonus damage. So you just win the fight. And I'm raising the energy that it requires. So not only does the ult not last as long, but you cannot use it as frequently. It takes a little bit longer to get it. This is just a little bit. I don't even know if this is the solution. If I had it my way, I don't think these ultimates should be in the game, really. I think the press a button and solve all issues for 8, 9, 10 seconds, they're just boring. Not my thing. I much prefer, something like Cloak and Dagger's ultimate where you actually have to move. It puts an aura on the ground. Your team has to stay on it. So if they make you move out of it or displace you, then it cancels it. Like there's counterplay to it, right? Whereas this is kind of like the radius is so big that she just stands there and your team can't lose as long as they don't move. So yeah, these two I would kick down a notch. The rest of the characters, there's other issues maybe you could find, but for now I would just, hey, these characters are picked all the time at high ranks. And honestly, if you want to move up the ranks, learn how to play one of these as a strategist, and you are going to do your team a lot of favors. You're a problem solver by pressing one button. Yeah, that's it for these two. Okay, back to some damage dealers. Moon Knight. He's an interesting one. I don't think he's a massive problem, but again, I think he's a bit of a noob stomper. And even at high ranks, this guy can shred your team very quickly. By the time you can react to onks that are well placed, he has 3 basic attacks that are headed that way, and he can kill somebody with them. And sometimes he can absolutely murder a team that's a little bit too grouped up for 1 or 2 seconds, and that's all it takes. So I think reducing the amount of damage or increasing the damage that falls off when it bounces, I think will just help so it doesn't shred the whole team in 3 seconds. It might even need to be higher. Maybe I'm completely off base, but I mean I can play Moon Knight and just annihilate a team myself. You can tell when someone's making a push, and you can just blow them up. And I just think it's too much. So I'm dropping the damage on that. Now Psylocke is somebody who is very good, but I think her power is derived mostly from her basic attack and her right click. So winged shurikens is her right click, and that's the one where she can fire it and recall it, and it does damage both times. So when you hit him with it, and then when you recall it, it does damage. And then psionic crossbow is just her basic attack. The two combined can instantly kill people right now, pretty much. Not instant, but within about a second, maybe a second and a half, they just fall over dead. The fact that she can set herself up to use these by using her stealth ability, getting to the back line and then instantly murdering somebody, I get it. That's what she's intended to do. She's intended to do that. That's how it's supposed to work. But the fact that she doesn't even have to use her dash or anything to still accomplish that goal in just a mere couple moments, I think it's just too strong. She's good against tanks. A lot of people don't even seem to know, but her psionic crossbow, when you hit anybody with it, it reduces all of her cooldowns by a quarter of a second, and psionic crossbow fires twice. So that's a half second. So it's got that added benefit, and like shooting tanks with her is not an issue. So you can shred tanks quite quickly. You can get your cooldowns back. The whole character is very good. Plus, she gets her shields from her winged shurikens. Her ultimate, I do not think, is overpowered. It has counterplay in multiple different ways. You can have multiple people stand inside of it and tank it. You can get healed while you're tanking it. You can move out of it. So there's multiple ways to deal with her ultimate. You could reduce the radius or something of it, sure, but I think it's quite fair. It's very good, but I think it's fair. But overall, I would just take her damage down a notch. Even when you add up these nerfs, it's really not a crazy amount. of damage that's being reduced. It's just so she can't literally hit stealth, go beside a Jeff, and just go and kill the Jeff in 1 second. Or whoever. She may actually have to hit shift, or she may have to actually use a third basic attack to actually kill the opponent. That's all it is for Psylocke. Nothing crazy, but bringing her down a notch again. From Psylocke, we hit Punisher. Punisher hasn't had quite as much of the spotlight as he used to, but if you do the math, he is still insanely good. His assault rifle is very easy to land. It has no recoil or anything. You can just, murder people with body shots. If you manage to mix in a couple headshots here and there, it's even worse. Very quick time to kill. And when he pulls out a shotgun, his time to knock you out, to KO you, is extremely quick as well. He's just so good still. And he's a tank shredder. And you need to imagine all these numbers where, like, look how quickly you can kill a tank with just Punisher or just Hela or just Hawkeye. And you have to imagine 2 of them on your team, right? Plus maybe a support hits them. Plus maybe your tank hits them. Like, Vanguards just fall over dead in this game quite often if things align the wrong way. It doesn't matter if Mantis is throwing a heal their way or Cloak and Dagger has heals flying towards them. The math just doesn't even come close. Sometimes you have those tug-and-war fights where the tank is he's taking so much damage and he's not dying. He's getting healed. Well, that's fair. That's the whole point. That's why we have heals. That's why we have health pools, right? It isn't so everything just falls over dead in 2 seconds. So Punisher knocking the damage down. It's still too good. It's still too consistent. And it's still better than a lot of other damage dealers and how they deal their damage. They have to work so much harder to do the same thing as these hit scan ranged duelists. Couple more notes. Not sure if we can even, like, how hitboxes work or how that is, but I mean, Namor's hitbox is ridiculous. You shouldn't even aim for their head. You should actually aim above their head, and you'll still hit them in the head. If you aim right for their face, quite often you'll hit them in the chest instead, and it doesn't count as a headshot. But yeah, it's a little ridiculous. His hitbox, he's quite good. He's quite safe. If these other guys ever do get nerfed, then, Namor we're going to see even more of being played. Storm is just, her numbers are so ridiculous. Her kit is just so weird. Her basic attack does terrible damage compared to everyone else, and it's not hit scan. Her right click hits for 70, which is the same as a Hela basic attack to your body. Yeah. Her aura thing, like, they want her to be, like, in with her team, but if she is in beside her team, she's just an easy target. She just gets killed. Honestly, I can think of ways to remake her into a strategist, and I might make a video about that as well, but I would make Storm a strategist. Winter Soldier, he's starting to see a lot more play. The character is extremely good. He has a ton of utility, a dashing mobility, knock-up strike, a AoE slow that pierces enemies. He can grab multiple people and pull them to someplace they don't want to be. His pistol does fantastic damage. He's not hit scan, but yeah, Winter Soldier is a fantastic character. I wouldn't be surprised if some of his stuff gets nerfed in the future. And lastly, since everyone hates the nerfs, they want to see something get buffed. I think Wolverine needs to be buffed. He is a feel-bad character in a lot of ways. Some people will say, "Oh, there's a high elo guy playing Wolverine." Yeah, I've watched it. It's literally he can move a tank every once in a while, but still, when I watch the gameplay, yes, they're not used to the Wolverine. Yes, he secures the odd kill, but I think it's a little bit inflated. I think the same could be done with a lot of other characters. The same results of the matches would happen. But anyway, that's an outlier. Let's just think of the normal players. If you miss your leap or you use your leap, it feels bad for 12 whole seconds to run around and basically only use your right click and hope you live. Not to mention, Feral Leap does terrible base damage. It does maximum HP damage. So it's better using it against tanks, but you can literally grab, like, Duelists with it and you won't even kill them. And you swipe them 15 times and you will not even kill the opponent. And then his regenerative healing factor, his passive, once it triggers, You have 90 seconds where it won't trigger it again, and you are basically like a really bad version of other duelists like Magic or Black Panther or something. He, yeah, I, I, I don't even like the design of this at all. I wish it was completely different, but it lower the cooldown or something, man. Make it come up more often. Wolverine should be in the fight consistently, more than other guys. Black Panther gets shields consistently. Magic gets shields consistently, so they can keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting you. Wolverine doesn't. He when it feels like he should. Him, it triggers once, and then you got to wait around for it to come back up. Uh, I don't know. It's a weird design, but I would buff Wolverine, see what happens. I don't think it's threatening. Any of this is like game breaking at all. Um, yeah, that's it for Wolverine. All right, guys, that's enough. It was a long video. If you sat through it all, thank you so much. No matter what, I am still having a blast with Marvel Rivals. This is just a few things that I would tweak. If overall damage goes down too much, then maybe we need a slight nerf to overall healing as well. I really don't know, but we will see how the game plays out. Let me know what you thought of it all. I stream daily on Twitch TV, Silva66, and I will try to answer any comments that you have on YouTube as well. Thanks again so much for watching, and take care, everybody.